My spoiled sister demanded my lake house for her honeymoon because Mom said I refused, and what happened next turned the whole family against her. After their grandparents passed away, their parents inherited a lake house. They kept it as a vacation spot, though the family didn't visit as much as they used to. Life got busier, and as the original poster and their sister got older, their schedules didn't line up as easily. By 2017, the house was mostly empty. The parents didn't really go up there anymore, and it seemed like they were holding on to it more out of sentimentality than anything else. At the time, the original poster was 26 and looking for their first home. They had been saving since they got their first job at 20 and had finally built up enough for a down payment. Their parents knew they were house hunting, so when their dad called one evening, the original poster figured he wanted to check in. Instead, he hit them with an offer they weren't expecting. "So, have you found a house yet?" he asked. "Not yet," they replied, still looking. "Your mom and I were talking, and we think you should buy the lake house," he said. The original poster was stunned. "Wait, what? You're selling it?" they asked. He hesitated before explaining that their sister had just gotten into her dream college, and everyone was still riding the high of that excitement. But apparently, the reality of paying for it was starting to sink in. She hadn't gotten the scholarship she was counting on, and their parents couldn't afford to cover the full cost of tuition. They didn't want her taking out student loans because they believed it would ruin her credit. So, their solution was to sell the lake house and use the money to pay for her education. At first, the original poster didn't know how to respond. The lake house wasn't just a piece of property, it was part of their family history. Selling it felt wrong, like they were giving up a piece of themselves, but their dad framed it as a win-win. "And we'd rather sell it to you than to some stranger," he said. "I love that house, and it would still stay in the family." The original poster admitted they were tempted. They had so many good memories tied to that house, and the idea of someone else owning it didn't sit well with them. But at the same time, it felt like they were being put in an awkward position. Their sister's education was on the line, and their parents were making it clear that buying the house would be a way to help her. It wasn't just about the house, it was about stepping up for the family. They asked their parents why they couldn't sell something else or explore other options, but their parents insisted this was the best choice. "It's just sitting there anyway," their mom added. "You'd be doing us all a favor." After a lot of thought and some guilt-tripping from their parents, the original poster agreed. They sold the house to them at a family discount, though it still wiped out most of their savings. The original poster told themselves it was worth it. They loved that house and didn't want to see it leave the family. Plus, they figured they'd be helping their sister in the process. Win-win, right? Well, not exactly. The first few months after the sale were a whirlwind. The house needed a lot of work to make it livable year-round. The plumbing was outdated, the roof had leaks, and there was no internet, which was a huge problem for the original poster since they worked remotely. They spent almost every weekend at the hardware store and every evening watching YouTube tutorials to figure out how to fix things. Their dad helped with a few of the bigger projects, like replacing the roof, but most of it was on them. It was exhausting and expensive, but it was also satisfying to see the house come together. By the time the original poster officially moved in, it didn't feel like a vacation house anymore. It felt like their home. They put their own stamp on the place: fresh paint, new furniture, and a few modern upgrades like a smart thermostat and better lighting. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, and that made all the difference. Living at the lake house full-time was a big adjustment. For one thing, it was a lot quieter than they were used to. Growing up, the house was always filled with people, family, friends, and sometimes even neighbors who dropped by for a barbecue. Now, it was just them. The silence was eerie at first, but over time they grew to love it. There's something peaceful about waking up to the sound of birds instead of car horns, and falling asleep to the gentle lapping of water against the shore. They developed new routines, like having their morning coffee on the porch while watching the sunrise, or taking evening walks along the lake. On weekends, they'd fish off the dock, or take the canoe out for a paddle. It wasn't the most exciting lifestyle, but it was exactly what they needed after years of working in the city and dealing with constant noise and stress. The quiet felt like a blessing. But even as they settled into their new life, they couldn't shake the feeling that their family still saw the house as theirs. Their mom would occasionally call and say things like, "It's so nice that you get to live there rent-free," as if they hadn't paid for the house with their own money. Their dad would make comments about how he hoped they weren't changing too much, and how he wanted the house to stay true to its roots. At first, they brushed it off, figuring their parents just needed time to adjust to the idea that the house wasn't theirs anymore. Then came the requests. Their parents started asking if they could use the house for weekend getaways, or if their sister could bring her friends up for a short trip. The original poster usually said yes to keep the peace, but it always felt a little off. This wasn't a vacation home anymore. It was their home, and yet their family acted like they were just borrowing it from them. By 2019, the house had become more than just a place to live. It was where the original poster had built their life, and they were proud of what they'd accomplished. That's when their significant other, Taylor, moved in. They'd been together for a while, and moving in together felt like the natural next step. Taylor loved the house as much as they did, and having someone to share it with made it even better. They started working on little projects together, like planting a garden in the backyard and building a fire pit by the lake. They'd spend evenings sitting by the fire, roasting marshmallows, and talking about their future. It felt like the kind of life they'd always wanted, simple, peaceful, and full of small joys. Taylor also helped them see the house in a new light. While the original poster had been focused on preserving its history, Taylor encouraged them to make it more personal. They hung up some of their favorite photos, added a few quirky decorations, and even painted the front door a bright blue. It was a small change, but it made the house feel uniquely theirs. Around the same time Taylor moved in, the original poster's sister announced her engagement. She'd been dating Mark, her college boyfriend, for a couple of years, and everyone in the family loved him. Their parents, especially, were over the moon. Their mom immediately started talking about wedding plans, and their dad was already figuring out how to help pay for it. The engagement was all anyone in the family could talk about, every phone call, every group chat, every holiday gathering. It was all wedding, all the time. The original poster didn't mind, though. Their sister seemed genuinely happy, and Mark was a good guy. They agreed to be part of the bridal party, and they and Taylor even started looking for nice gifts to give them. At first, everything seemed fine. The wedding was originally planned for 2020, but like a lot of things that year, it got postponed. Their sister rescheduled it for December 2021, and everyone was relieved to have something to look forward to. The original poster thought they'd finally reached a point where the lake house drama was behind them, but they couldn't have been more wrong. Looking back, there were signs that their family hadn't fully accepted the fact that the lake house was theirs. Their mom still referred to it as the family lake house, and their dad would occasionally drop hints about how much they missed going up there. The original poster tried to ignore it, telling themselves that their parents didn't mean anything by it. But deep down, they knew it was only a matter of time before this became a problem again. By the time their sister's wedding planning kicked into high gear, the original poster started to feel like they were walking on eggshells around their family. Their parents' focus on their sister was as strong as ever, and they knew they'd do anything to make her happy. What they didn't expect was just how far they'd go and how much they'd ask of them. A few weeks before their sister's wedding, the original poster was sitting on the porch with Taylor, enjoying a quiet evening. Life at the lake house was peaceful, and they thought the wedding chaos was happening far enough away that it wouldn't reach them. Their parents were busy helping their sister finalize everything, and they assumed their role in the bridal party was all set. Then they got a call from their sister that completely blindsided them. At first, the conversation was normal enough. Small talk about the wedding, how excited she was, and a few comments about how much work still needed to be done. Then she casually dropped the question that turned everything upside down. "So," she said, "where are you and Taylor staying for the 2 weeks after the wedding?" The original poster frowned, confused. At home. Why?" She sighed like they were being dense. "That's not going to work. Mark and I will be staying at the lake house for our honeymoon." For a second, the original poster thought they'd misheard her. "Wait, what? You're staying where?" "Oh, ain't the lake house," she repeated, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Mom and Dad said it would be fine." The original poster was stunned. Mom and Dad said it was fine? It's not their house to offer. It's mine. She brushed that off like it didn't matter. It's perfect for a honeymoon. It's private, romantic, and we won't have to spend money on a hotel. Plus, you and Taylor can go stay somewhere else for a couple of weeks. It's not like you don't have options. The original poster couldn't believe what they were hearing. "Oh, you're asking me to leave my own home for 2 weeks so you can have a free honeymoon? Are you serious right now?" Her tone shifted, becoming defensive. "It's not a big deal, Michael. We're family. You've had the house for years. Can't you do this one thing for me? It's my wedding." The original poster took a deep breath, trying to keep their cool. No, I'm not leaving my home so you and Mark can stay here. If you want a romantic honeymoon, book a hotel like everyone else." That's when she started guilt-tripping them. She went on about how her wedding wasn't going to be exactly what she dreamed of because of all the delays, and now they were making it worse. She said they were being selfish and ruining her special time. When that didn't work, she got angry. "Fine," she snapped. "If you're going to act like this, I'll just take you out of the bridal party." The original poster shrugged. "You do what you need to do." That seemed to throw her off. She was expecting them to backtrack, but they didn't. After a few seconds of silence, she hung up. The original poster sat there, staring at their phone, half expecting their parents to call next, and sure enough, they did. Their mom was the first to call, and she wasted no time getting straight to the point. "What's this I hear about you refusing to let your sister use the lake house for her honeymoon?" she demanded. "Oh, Mom, it's my house," the original poster replied. "She didn't even ask me. She just assumed she could stay here. That's not how this works." "It's the family lake house," she snapped. "We've always shared it, and it's not like you'd be giving it up forever. It's just 2 weeks. Why are you being so difficult?" The original poster could feel their frustration building. "It's not the family lake house anymore. You sold it to me in 2017, remember? I paid for it, and I've been living here ever since. You can't just decide who gets to stay here." "She's your sister, Michael," their mom said, her voice dripping with disappointment. "She didn't get the wedding she wanted, and now you're ruining her honeymoon too. Don't you want to make her happy?" "Oh no, Mom," they said firmly. "Oh, I don't think it's my responsibility to give up my home so she can have a free honeymoon. That's insane." She didn't have much to say after that, but they could tell she was fuming. She hung up, and a few hours later their dad called. His approach was less emotional, but just as frustrating. "Michael, your mom and I think you're making a mistake," he said. "This is about family. Your sister deserves this after everything she's been through." Dad, I've already done plenty for her," they replied. "Do you remember why you sold me the house in the first place? It was to pay for her college tuition. I've already helped her more than enough." "That was years ago," he said, brushing it off. "This is different. It's her wedding. You're not going to let her down over something as small as this, are you?" "Small?" the original poster said. "In her asking me to leave my own home for 2 weeks. That's not small, Dad. That's a huge ask, and it's completely unreasonable." He sighed heavily. I just don't understand why you're being so stubborn about this." At that point, the original poster was done. "I'm not being stubborn. I'm setting a boundary. This is my home, and I'm not letting anyone tell me what to do with it." The next day, their sister texted them to let them know they were officially uninvited from the wedding. She accused them of being selfish and trying to ruin her happiness. According to her, they were the reason she couldn't have the honeymoon of her dreams. The original poster didn't bother responding. What was the point? She'd made up her mind, and nothing they said was going to change it. Taylor was just as frustrated as they were. "I don't understand how they don't see how ridiculous this is," she said. "It's your house. You shouldn't have to explain yourself." She was right, but that didn't make it any easier. Their parents kept calling, alternating between guilt-tripping and outright shaming them. They made it clear that they thought the original poster was in the wrong, and nothing they said could convince them otherwise. It was exhausting, but they refused to back down. They weren't going to let their family guilt them into giving up their home. The days following their sister's announcement that they were uninvited from her wedding were tense, to put it lightly. It wasn't just the silence from her that got to them. It was the barrage of calls and texts from their parents. They seemed determined to break them down, hammering the same points over and over like a broken record. According to them, the original poster was selfish, inconsiderate, and, worst of all, a bad brother. Every time their phone buzzed, they felt their blood pressure spike. Their mom's messages were the worst. She would start with something like, "I'm so disappointed in you," and then launch into a guilt trip about how their sister had already been through so much with the delays to her wedding. It always ended with some variation of, "Can't you just do this one thing for her?" Their dad wasn't much better. He left a voicemail one evening that nearly made them throw their phone across the room. Michael," he said in his most serious dad voice, "and this is about family. Your sister deserves to have her special moment, and you're the one standing in the way. I hope you think long and hard about what kind of brother you want to be." They didn't bother calling him back. They were too angry to have a productive conversation. Instead, they vented to Taylor. "You're acting like I'm the villain in all of this," they said, pacing the living room. "They don't care that I've already sacrificed for her. They don't care that this is my house. All they care about is making her happy, no matter what it costs me." Taylor nodded sympathetically. "It's not fair," she said. "You've done more than enough for your sister. They can't keep asking you to give up more. At some point, they have to respect your boundaries." She was right, of course, but that didn't make it any easier to deal with. They were caught between wanting to stand their ground and feeling like the bad guy for upsetting their family. It didn't help that their sister was playing the victim, posting cryptic messages on social media about how her special day was being ruined by selfishness. In the middle of all this, the original poster got a call from their Aunt Carol, their mom's sister. She's always been the more grounded one in the family, and they hoped she might offer some perspective. After a few minutes of catching up, she said, "So, I hear there's some drama going on with the wedding." They laughed bitterly. "So, who could say that?" They told her everything. how their sister wanted to use the lake house for her honeymoon, how their parents backed her up without even asking them, and how it all spiraled out of control when they said no. They didn't hold back, venting about the entitlement and the constant guilt-tripping from their parents. When they finished, there was a long pause. Then Aunt Carol said, "Michael, I'm going to be honest with you. Your parents are way out of line here. That house is yours. You paid for it. They have no right to treat it like a family freebie just because it used to belong to your grandparents." Hearing her say that felt like a weight off their shoulders. For weeks, they'd been drowning in guilt, questioning whether they were the ones in the wrong. But here was someone in their family who actually understood where they were coming from, and I've been trying to explain that to them, they said, and they just don't listen. They keep acting like I owe my sister this one thing, even though I've already done plenty for her. So don't owe her anything, Aunt Carol said firmly. Her parents have always babied her, and this is the result. They've set her up to expect the world on a silver platter, and now they're upset because you're not playing along. That's not your problem, Michael. Stand your ground. Her words gave them the clarity they needed. For the first time in weeks, they felt like they weren't crazy for standing up for themselves. Their parents and sister could throw all the tantrums they wanted. They weren't going to budge. The wedding came and went, and as expected, the original poster wasn't there. Their parents didn't reach out, and neither did their sister. They saw a few photos on social media, and it looked like a beautiful ceremony. Their sister was beaming, and their parents looked proud but tired, probably from all the stress they'd been under. A small part of them felt sad about missing it, but mostly, they felt relieved to have avoided the drama. Taylor and they spent that weekend at the lake house, enjoying the quiet. They went out on the lake, cooked a fancy dinner, and watched a movie together. It was simple and relaxing, exactly what they needed after weeks of tension. For once, they didn't feel like they were walking on eggshells around their family. A few days after the wedding, their mom called. They let it go to voicemail, not ready to deal with whatever guilt trip she had planned. When they finally listened to the message, it was exactly what they expected. She sounded sad, almost defeated. "Oh, Michael," she said, "well, we missed you at the wedding. Your sister is still upset, and I don't know if things will ever be the same between you two. I just hope you realize how much this has hurt her and us. We raised you to care about family, and this isn't the Michael we know." They deleted the message without responding. They knew what she was trying to do, and they weren't going to let it get to them. Their parents had made their choice, and they'd made theirs. If their parents couldn't respect their boundaries, that was on them, not the original poster. Final update. After the wedding, the original poster thought the drama might start to fade, but of course they underestimated their family's ability to hold a grudge. Their mom and dad continued their campaign of guilt-tripping, though it shifted from outright anger to a tone of disappointment, like they'd personally betrayed them. One day, about a week after the wedding, they got another voicemail from their mom. "And Michael," she said, her voice soft but firm, "see, I don't know why you're doing this. Your sister is devastated. She thought you'd be there for her, but instead you let her down. I don't know how we're going to move forward from this." They rolled their eyes as they listened to it. By this point, their words didn't sting as much as they used to. They'd spent too much time second-guessing themselves, wondering if they really were the selfish one in this situation. But after everything, they knew they weren't. This wasn't about them being selfish. It was about their family refusing to respect boundaries. Taylor, as always, was their rock. "You don't owe them anything," she reminded them one evening as they sat by the fire pit they'd built together. "Oh, you've done more than enough for your sister. They just can't handle the fact that you're finally saying no." It was true. For years, they'd been the reliable one, the one their family could count on to step up when things got tough. Their sister, on the other hand, had always been coddled. Their parents bent over backward to make sure she was happy, even if it meant putting the original poster on the back burner. They'd gotten used to it, but this time, their parents had gone too far. A few days later, they got a text from their sister. They weren't sure what to expect when they opened it. Maybe another accusation or some passive-aggressive remark. But instead, it caught them off guard. "Hey," she wrote. "I didn't know the lake house was legally yours. Mom and Dad told me you were just living there rent-free. I didn't realize they sold it to pay for my college. I'm sorry for assuming I could use it without asking." It wasn't exactly an apology, but it was a step in the right direction. She seemed to finally understand the bigger picture, and for that, they were grateful. They thought carefully about how to respond. They didn't want to rehash the entire argument, but they also didn't want to let her off the hook completely. Eventually, they settled on something simple. "Thanks for reaching out. I hope you and Mark are happy together. Let me know if you ever want to talk." She didn't reply, but they didn't take it personally. At least she'd acknowledged the situation, even if it didn't fix everything. Over the next few weeks, things started to settle down. Their parents still weren't speaking to them much, but that was fine by them. They needed the space. Taylor and they focused on their life at the lake house, throwing themselves into small projects and planning for the future. It felt good to let go of the drama and focus on what really mattered. One afternoon they got a call from their Aunt Carol. "So are you holding up?" she asked. "Oh, better," they said. "I think things are finally calming down." "And glad to hear that," she said. "And just remember, you're not the bad guy here. Your parents and sister might not see it yet, but you've done the right thing by standing up for yourself. Don't let them make you doubt that." Her words stuck with them. For so long they'd been focused on keeping the peace that they'd ignored their own needs. But this situation had forced them to draw a line, and for the first time in their life they didn't feel guilty about putting themselves first. Looking back, this whole ordeal taught them a lot about boundaries and self-respect. Their family may never understand their perspective, and that's okay. What matters is that they finally learned to stand their ground. The lake house is more than just a house, it's their home. It's where they and Taylor have built their life, and they're not going to let anyone take that away from them. They don't know what the future holds for their relationship with their parents and sister. Maybe things will improve over time, or maybe they won't. Either way, they're at peace with their decision. For now, they're focusing on the life they and Taylor are building together. It's not perfect, but it's theirs, and that's enough.